earlier when you talked about that range of carbs within the proper human diet, you talked about when we get down, I think it was around 20, it becomes ketosis.
Yeah. Ketogenic for most people. That's right. Yeah.
So, do you see additional benefits from producing ketones and being that low, specifically from the ketone aspect?
Yeah. And so we know there's credible research that shows clearly that cardiac myocytes, the heart muscle cells, they pump more efficiently when they're fed on ketones and fatty acids than when they're fed with sugar. I keep hearing on Twitter that your brain needs sugar. But when I reach out to these people and say, which specific neurons, which specific cells, is it astrocytes, is it glial cells, which one needs sugar? I never get an answer to that question. And so until proven otherwise, I think that the brain runs better on ketones than it runs on sugar. I think the heart cell, that's been shown pretty definitively that it runs better. Once you become keto adapted, which for some people it takes 3 days, some people it takes 3 weeks, meaning that basically you ramp up the biochemical machinery that allow your muscles to burn ketones and allow everything to burn ketones optimally. Then you start having long distance triathletes who are completing entire races and placing very high in ketosis the entire race. They're not slamming the sugar gels or the sugar drinks anymore. They're actually burning their own body fat while they run. Ultra marathoners are starting to do this. Bodybuilders, there's several bodybuilders who are natural, winning competitions with none of the steroids and none of the sugars. They're literally in ketosis and they're checking their ketones and posting that saying, look, I just won this natty competition and I was in ketosis my entire training. How is that possible if the muscles need glucose? That should be impossible, but here it is. And so I think that there are multiple benefits to being in ketosis at least part of the day, if not constantly. I think some of the benefits of ketosis, like I said earlier about another subject, I think there are benefits to ketosis that we haven't even discovered yet because everybody's been so interested in researching the next pharmaceutical breakthrough because that's $1 billion paycheck, right? But if you find some new thing that being in ketosis does, okay, you don't make any money for that. You just get to keep your job. So congrats, I guess. So researchers aren't really interested in looking at the benefits of this. But I think that we know the brain works better. We know the heart works better. We know that the muscles are absolutely capable of doing this, running on ketones and fatty acids. So where's the downside? So yeah, I think ketosis is very valuable. I don't know yet if you need to be in ketosis all the time or if you just need to have periods of ketosis and then periods where you're not in ketosis. I don't think the research is clear on that yet. But last time I checked clinicaltrials.gov, there were over 430 ongoing trials right now that have either been registered or are actually in progress looking at a ketogenic diet, a diet that puts you in ketosis for this malady, this disease, this condition, ranging all the way from very rare genetic conditions up to depression, up to dementia, to seizure disorder. Like there's over 400 studies ongoing right now. And if anybody doubts that, just go to clinicaltrials.gov and type in keto, and it'll tell you exactly how many trials have been registered that are going to start soon or that are already underway looking at ketosis as a therapeutic state. And indeed, there are many people in the ketogenic sphere now, MDs and PhDs, who are saying that the default state for humans is ketosis. And that's very controversial if you say that in a mixed audience. But I can't disagree with them. But then also when somebody says, no, it's good to dip into ketosis, but you need to come out, I don't think we know yet. But I think that some of the anthropological evidence based on what people actually ate that we can detect through stable isotope analysis, I think those guys were in ketosis almost all the time. And they obviously did well enough to reproduce and then live to be 70 or 80 because that's when we found their skeleton and reproduce successfully. And so I don't know that the answer to that, but I don't think there's any provable danger to being in ketosis all the time, as you'll hear some influencers say. I don't think there's any research that supports that whatsoever. But I don't know if it's optimal to be in ketosis all the time or if it's optimal to go in and out of ketosis. I don't think we know the answer to that yet. And I'm happy to believe either way as the research leads me.
I know this isn't an animal product, but how do you feel about, say, a C8 MCT oil, adding that to coffee, adding that to a salad dressing for people that are introducing some carbs to their diet and using that to artificially boost ketones?
Yeah, I have no problem with coconut oil or MCT oil. I have no problem with real avocado oil or real olive oil. And you know as well as I do that those two are often adulterated because you can adulterate them with safflower or canola or soybean, and nobody can tell the difference unless they have a biochemistry lab. And so you actually make more money on your olive oil or your avocado oil, and that ain't even what it is. But if it's real, I think that fruit seed oils, which is what olive and avocado are, I think they're probably fine. And then coconut oil, I think, is probably fine. Another way to look at that is you can also make all three of those on your kitchen stove. You don't need a chemical factory, right, or a petroleum distillation setup to make those oils. Those oils are oils that humans have been making for thousands of years. So I think they're probably fine. Now, remember the normal distribution curve. I think there's probably a subset of people that need 100% animal fat. And I'm happy to be proven wrong, but I've talked to many people who's like, if I get off carnivore at all, I start to have inflammation or I start to have this, that, or the other. But I think the vast majority of people can tolerate some coconut oil, avocado oil, olive oil just fine in their diet. And I think for many people that's more of a gateway. Like, yeah, I can walk through that gateway. It doesn't sound nearly as weird as no, everything has to be cooked in beef tallow or bacon grease. You know, that for some people are like, what? So I'm totally fine with somebody ending up at carnivore because they started with low carb, real whole foods. I'm having, and wherever anybody falls on that spectrum, from low carb with real whole food all the way over to pure 100% lion diet carnivore, as long as they attain their best health, I'm happy. That spectrum, I think, is where every single human on the planet, their best health falls somewhere on that spectrum of low carb, real whole food to lion diet carnivore. And I don't think that in years to come, I don't think anybody will even try to argue with that. Human beings are by design low carbohydrate mammals.
If you enjoyed that clip, press here for the full episode. I'll see you over there.
Any disease you can think of that's chronic and progressive, it's being caused by hyperglycemia, hyperinsulinemia, and chronic inappropriate levels of inflammation. Your default setting is good health. And if you're not enjoying good health,